In a time when kingdoms rose and fell at the mercy of a single decision, where loyalty could shift like the tides of the sea, there was one man whose wisdom was sought by kings and armies alike. He was known throughout Israel for his unmatched intellect, his sharp judgment, and the counsel that could turn the course of history. His name was Ahithophel. Ahithophel's story begins long before betrayal would mark his legacy. He was not always a man who would be remembered for his part in a tragic rebellion. At one time, he was David's most trusted advisor, a confidant who stood by his side as Israel flourished. Under David's rule, Israel's borders expanded, its enemies were defeated, and the nation found peace. And through all of it, there was Ahithophel, always present, always guiding, always shaping David's decisions with wisdom that seemed almost divine. Ahithophel's influence was undeniable. His counsel was often the difference between victory and defeat. His strategic genius was unmatched. And yet, even the wisest man can be undone by forces greater than intellect. Even wisdom, in the end, is a double-edged sword. The story of Ahithophel takes a turn with the arrival of Absalom, David's son, who would soon challenge the throne for his own. Absalom, charismatic, ambitious, and manipulative, had built a loyal following, and he would stop at nothing to claim the throne of Israel. He began to lay the groundwork for his rebellion against his own father. What drove Ahithophel to stand with Absalom against his king? What twisted the fabric of loyalty so thoroughly that a man once revered as the voice of reason would choose to align with betrayal? Was it ambition, revenge, or something far deeper, something personal? Some say the root of Ahithophel's disillusionment with David lay in a deeply personal wound, a family tragedy that would shape his fate. Ahithophel's granddaughter Bathsheba became the wife of David, but it was not the marriage that destroyed his faith in the king. It was David's actions that would forever haunt him. When David, in a moment of weakness, took Bathsheba and orchestrated the death of her husband, Uriah, the seeds of bitterness began to grow in Ahithophel's heart. Ahithophel, once loyal, now carried a deep grudge against David, one that would grow into an insurmountable wall of anger and betrayal. The king he had once served with faithfulness had shown no mercy, and Ahithophel in his heart knew that he could never forgive such a transgression. His allegiance to David was no longer a matter of honor, but of self-preservation, justice, and vengeance. It was in this atmosphere of betrayal, anger, and ambition that Ahithophel found himself advising Absalom. The prince, eager for power, sought counsel from the one man who had once advised his father. And Ahithophel, now free from his chains of loyalty, saw an opportunity to finally strike a blow at David, his old friend, his old king. But it was not just Absalom's ambition that led him to seek Ahithophel's advice. No, Ahithophel's counsel was more than just a weapon in a political struggle. It was his understanding of human nature, his knowledge of the inner workings of the kingdom, that made him invaluable. He understood how to manipulate people, how to exploit their weaknesses, and how to turn even the most loyal subjects against their king. Ahithophel's advice was chilling in its brilliance. By suggesting that Absalom sleep with David's concubines on the rooftop of the palace, he not only ensured that David's reputation would be forever tarnished, but he also sealed Absalom's claim to the throne. It was a statement, a declaration of power that could not be undone. But even the sharpest mind can make a fatal miscalculation. Ahithophel had underestimated something far more dangerous than ambition, something that no strategy could ever predict. When Absalom rejected Ahithophel's counsel, it was more than a mere political setback. It was a betrayal that cut deeper than any sword. For Ahithophel, his wisdom had always been his strength, his pride. But in that moment it was rendered useless. Absalom, once his pupil, now cast him aside for someone else's advice. Ahithophel, with his unrivaled intellect, had been reduced to nothing more than a tool discarded after use. In the end, Ahithophel's wisdom, his years of service, and his cunning all amounted to nothing. In a world where loyalty and betrayal are the currency of power, even the sharpest mind can fall victim to the whims of a cruel fate. For Ahithophel, his final act was as tragic as it was inevitable. Unable to reconcile his shattered pride, he took his own life, his wisdom having failed him in his final moments. Ahithophel, the man who stood with Absalom, the man who had once been the voice of reason, died alone. His wisdom, which had once been his greatest asset, had become the very thing that destroyed him. And so, his story serves as a haunting reminder. Even the wisest can fall prey to their own desires, their own vengeance, and their own mistakes. Ahithophel's tale is a story of wisdom that turned into folly, of betrayal that led to ruin. A story of a man who, in his search for justice, lost everything, including himself. This is the story of the wisdom of Ahithophel, a wisdom that could not save him. Scriptures are meant for our inspiration and learning. We learn how to live our lives and learn from the mistakes of men in time past. What did you learn from this story? Could you tell us in the comments below? And if you like the story, subscribe, like, and share it with your friends and family. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.